What up, you guys? Happy full moon in Scorpio. Good Lord. I feel so excited about this full moon, this lunation kicking us off finally into this new chapter of our life. We don't have an eclipse going on, it's nothing crazy, but I think we're on the other side of a huge turning point. So, just for some context, yesterday was Passover. Passover, at least the beginning of the exodus of Egypt, right? Passover was the night of the last of the plagues when the Israelites were threatening to bounce from Egypt. And Moses was like, hey, the death angel is going to come and take the firstborn son of every household unless you let my people go, right? And so, the Pharaoh was like, whatever, do your worst, and that happened. So the Israelites were instructed to sacrifice a ram representing the month of Nisan, which is Aries, which is Mars. Mars co-rules Scorpio. And the ram was to be sacrificed, and the blood was to be brushed over the threshold of every Israelite's home as a signal to this death angel that they were righteous, that they were cleansed, that they were undefiled. And so part of this this ritual was to fast and abstain from bread with yeast or grains that had yeast or that would expand, and to not let the bread cook for any more than 18 minutes. Take the bread out before the yeast has time to rise. Because the yeast, the ego, the yeast represents the ego, the desire to receive for the self alone, the desire to reach for instant gratification. It's that smaller self that's always in control, and that's usually thwarting the plans and the goals of the higher self. So the ego is always trying to keep us protected and safe in familiar territory. And it's kind of afraid because it's always afraid of annihilation. And so it's like we are sort of on the mission of achieving ego death, but we want to resurrect our ego. We want a healthy, rehabilitated ego that works for us and not against us. So the reason why not just because the bread contains this symbolism for the ego, but basically, to be more specific, it's like we need to get out before we give the ego time to rise, time to give us doubts, to make us second guess, to make us fear, to make us feel like we're not up to the task or that we don't have what we need, Think about the enormity of leaving a system that you've known and a home that you've known and a city that you've known, and having like a roof over your head and predictable meals, even though you're in a terrible situation and you're in slavery. It's like it's the devil that right? And so now you've got this leader that's like, yeah, I'm going to take you guys away from here to our promised land. And they're like, well, that's great. What promised land? And then he's like, Moses is like, I don't know. We're going to find it. We'll know when we see it. And it's like, okay, but you're asking us to leave everything and go off into the wilderness with no plans, like no map, like we don't have a destination. So it takes the strongest faith. And it was said that the Israelites had purified 95% of their consciousness to be positive. And so they were only suffering from 5% negativity and doubt when it came time for the Red Sea to split. So it was like that unified consciousness, the unification of the people and their faith that was 95% there was able to make that sea split with Moses. Behind Moses. So the ego, right? It's like, don't give the bread time to rise. Don't give yourself time to doubt yourself, right? How many times are we all excited and gung-ho about something and trying something out or taking a chance on something? And instead of just giving, have you ever been cliff jumping? This is a perfect example. So if you go cliff jumping, I don't suggest it. Jagged rocks, you don't know the depth of the water. There could be water moccasins, poisonous snakes. So there, don't do it. Now, okay, listen to my story. So if you go cliff jumping, you can't really like go slow and like pussyfoot around and like kind of like timidly like hop off. You'll scrape the side. You have to run and jump without hesitation. And so even though you know that you're scared and that you know that you're about to fall, you're going to take a huge leap and there are risks, you can't hesitate because you know that the hesitation is dangerous, and it's more dangerous than just taking the leap, right? So the bread not rising, the matzah without the yeast, the lack of ego, it represents us taking that action when we're guided by spirit. When we're led in our heart and soul to do something and we feel that message coming through and we know when the timing is right, and it's like, don't hesitate then. That's when you need to do it. That's when you need to take that action without giving time for your ego to jump into that space where it says, who are you to do this? You're not equipped. You don't have what you need. There's no time. There's no resources. There's no money. You're not the person that usually people are used to seeing in this position. Like anything to keep you bound in the Egypt that you know. The devil that you know is better, right, than the wilderness that you don't know. The threats that lie ahead that you can't even anticipate yet, right? So that's what's happening. It's like the courage to just follow that guidance. So I think it's interesting that on Passover, the death angel comes and takes the firstborn son of every unrighteous, unmarked household, unmarked threshold. And here we are, one day later, the Scorpio full moon, the death and rebirth of the moon. It's like the full culmination and the end of the moon cycle. It's like come to its fullness, and now it's time to it's time to wane and prepare for the next cycle. The light is leaving where it was in that cycle, and it's moving towards the new cycle now. So it's letting go, it's releasing, it's moving away from what was. We're moving away from Egypt. Scorpio is death, rebirth, right? And it's like the death angel has come, and in through this, it's like we're transitioning, we are moving away from the past as it was, and we're moving into this new cycle, like a new person. The past is gone. It's dead. The person that we used to be is gone, is dead, right? We've changed and grown so much. I saw a meme the other day that said, I've lived like 10 lifetimes since like 5 years ago. It was like, it said like, it's not fair to think about it. It was like between 2017 and 2024, whatever, like what's 2009, between 2019 and 2024, I've lived like 16 lives. And I'm like, oh my God, literally I've started 3 lives over again in these 5 years. So I know what they're talking about. So we can't keep clinging to the past, right? Because it's going to hold us back. It's going to hold us down. We have to be able to move forward. So the Scorpio full moon is like bringing into this culmination of this transformation that we've been going through. And it's sort of starting to show us signs that life is beginning to shift and change and start to reflect this higher level of ourselves that we're becoming. And we've like grown just enough to get to that next level, like freshmen in college, where we don't really know what we're doing yet, but we're prepared enough to learn as we go. And so we have to embrace that uncertainty, embrace the unknown, and let our faith be strengthened by this. So yeah, let's see, the full moon, I feel like there was one more thing I was wanting to say about that. I was wanting to say that because Scorpio is a water sign, it's mutable. Water can take so many forms, and it's so willing to change and take on new form without resistance. You know, it can meet the conditions of where it's at, and it can make itself what it needs to be for the job at hand. Water is a living, conscious element. Isn't that fun? And I bet you will find out one day that so is wind and fire and earth. But for now. We know that water has memory and it has consciousness, and we're beginning to learn that water has language. Isn't that interesting? And so that makes us even more susceptible to this transformation and healing and rebirth right now. And Scorpio is a fixed sign. So the changes right now have staying power. They have the ability to really be long lasting, not just a flash in the pan or, you know, one of those times where you have a good few weeks and then it's like, oh, that was a good time last summer, and then that was it. You know, it's like these are going to be lasting positive changes. And I think that this is only the beginning, the glimmer of what's to come. So we're in the early stages of big change, and I'm really excited about it. And also, there was a big conjunction on April 20th. So Jupiter is in Taurus right now, which is expanding anything that it touches. And Taurus is all about beauty, security, love, luscious things of sensual delights, foods, beautiful fabrics, clothing, textiles, perfumes. Like Taurus loves luxury, Taurus loves beauty, Taurus loves culture and things that enrich the soul and spirit. Taurus is also very practical and very grounded. Taurus knows that it needs and values at a core level that beauty to be able to blossom and to be in that higher vibrational state. For some, it's not as important, but for Taurus, it is absolutely necessary. Same with Libra, ruled by Venus, right? So the things that sign craves, it has to have a practical way to get that, right? So the Tauran is very good at taking practical, grounded action to build stability, to build the kind of finances and resources that can support the life that makes them feel nurtured and secure and enlivened. So they're good at making money. They're good at recognizing what's going to be something of value, and they're really good at like building something into something valuable. So great at taking action, great at building something and making it profitable. So things that we've been working for and to and on, the things that are important to our heart and soul, it's like those have the ability to take off and come under extreme expansion and magnification. And so again, we've got to be a little bit careful because Jupiter in Taurus can also expand like an overly lavish appetite. So be careful to keep that in balance and in check so that we don't overspend or we don't overeat or we're not drinking too much or like taking too many drugs. You know, I won't say that some is too many, like you do what you want to do, but try not to overdo it. Try to balance that spending and saving without being too frugal and without being too opulent. Let's see. So this huge expansion is happening already. And then within that expansion, Jupiter and in Taurus has just conjuncted Uranus. I like to say Uranus. So most people call it Uranus. So they've just come into conjunction, which means that they were hooked up in the sky. And what that is that Uranus is the planet that brings sudden change and surprise, catalytic elements that make things that shift what was. It's change, it's a change bringer, it turns things upside down, it turns things around. But either way, it's usually something catalytic that's surprising that changes something. It's like, oh, suddenly this has changed, or a big event that sends you in another direction. For example, we often use like movies and TV shows and script writing as a metaphor for life because it's perfect. And so Uranus is the plot point. We have talked about like in the beginning of a movie or a series, we are introduced to the character in the environment that they are in the consciousness that they are in, and in the life that they know. This is their normal day-to-day. And we get a brief overview of the important people in their life and the people who are significant to the story. And then once we've established okay, this is the character. We've gotten to know them a little bit at their current stature. The plot point comes about 10, 15 minutes into the movie when there is an inciting incident that happens that changes the trajectory of the character and their story. It turns their life inside out. It turns their world inside out. It turns their plans around. And they then are set out upon their hero's journey to play out the plot of the movie. And they go on some sort of quest to discover or try to achieve something, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And there's like an outer story and then there's an inner story. But the plot point is the thing that changes the current direction of the story. There's another plot point at the end of Act 2, or maybe it's in Act 3. I think it's in Act 3, where the culmination of the movie is coming. And so this is the turning point where it's now or never kind of thing, like where they hit their wall and then they have to like do something and face off and like finally like they get fed up. But that is the second big inciting incident in the movie. It's like, okay, maybe I found the clue or the artifact that's going to help me break into this like hidden temple, right? That might be the plot point. The plot point might be that the character like remembers something that their dad said on the deathbed, but they couldn't quite make it out. And now they remember and it all makes sense now. And you know what I mean? So it's like, or, they like say you're in a romantic comedy and it was like are they going to choose this person or that person? And then like maybe at the end of the third act, it's like they see something horrible that reveals the true character, the true nature of the person that we didn't want that person, the main character, to end up with all along. And now they're going to go back to the person. They've seen it all so clearly. You guys get it, right? The plot point, it changes everything. So Uranus is the plot point. When it shows up, it usually does something unexpected that changes the trajectory or helps us, gives us some kind of leg up or some kind of support in some way, or turns us around from something that wasn't playing out very well. But that is happening. And it's going to be, the influence of this is going to be going on for some time, like months or maybe like a year and a half or something like that. So over the course, I feel like we're always saying this, but I would say, I mean, the North nodes are still going to be, the North node is in Aries, South node is in Libra. Still have some time in that, maybe like another year. All this is happening, and then the eclipse season that just spit us out into like this like major new timeline has just happened. So it's like the next 6 months or a year could show a lot of transformation and change. Right now, you may be seeing early signs. You may have recently started new ventures or have been planting seeds. And it's like, this is the early signs of what is going to be developing or what could be developing over the next year and a half. Nothing is ever set in stone. It always takes us showing up and doing it and bringing our half. But if we do this, we can see probably major life-changing results. And really like the trajectory and what we're used to is going to be so vastly different, probably every couple of months, right? We're going to be seeing some shifts and changes. At least that's what it feels like. And you know, it's funny, I have a friend who recently, I told him, I said, I just have a feeling like really great things are about to start happening for you. It just seemed like he was like having a tough point, and like it just felt like the universe was against him. It's like he couldn't catch a break for a second. And I had no reason other than a feeling that I'm like, this feels like the universe is doing this to him to push him into his next level. And then he gave me some like really amazing news about his career. It was like unbelievable. Like he got a part in something. So, you know, you just never know. Like, and that was like, I said that to him like maybe a month or so ago. And then he came up to me over the last couple of days. He was like, oh my God. So you just never know what's happening and what could come about and what could develop. But yeah, it just feels like this moment is sort of special like that. And if you feel like, oh my gosh, it feels like maybe something could shift, something could change, you're not crazy. That is definitely what's in the air. But it does take us showing up, and it takes us doing the work. Um, and it's so funny. I like for me myself, like personal confession, I've been in an absolute panic because there is a venture like on another side hustle that I've like started, and I'd started taking a course, and I feel like I'm going so slow, and like everything is like, you know, making me take so much longer than I feel like it should. And I'm like, I don't want to miss my window. And it's not, or, you know, it's like, what is your consciousness in? What is your heart in? What is your effort in? You know, keep putting a consistent effort, right? But don't panic. Don't feel that scarcity. Don't feel that fear and that lack and that doubt, because it's, once again, it's just the ego coming in, trying to keep you distracted in your anxiety, right? And the whole point of making this exodus out of Egypt is to leave the things that kept us bound, the ways that the ego has kept us trapped, the habits, the illnesses, the pain. Maybe, you know, maybe you have chronic pain, maybe you have chronic emotional pain, maybe you have a low level of chronic emotional pain, maybe you have an addiction or a habit, or, you know, minor patterns that just add up, that keep you sort of circling in these same situations, right? It's time to leave those. And I'm about to get choked up looking at this first card. Like, it's like I don't know why I'm even surprised by miraculous messages coming through. But our first card is the context of us in this moment, and it's new beginnings. And I'm tired from days of like being washed out and trying so hard, and I know that we all are. We're all feeling this. And to feel the hope of a fresh start, new ideas, new projects, new relationships, a new job, the beginning of something big, setting out on a new journey. It's so crazy. Like, it just feels like there's so much magic in the air right now. On my birthday, I ate some garden mushrooms. Just nice little garden edible mushrooms. And we had a pretty magical time afterwards. And I was like, you know, we should light the saints candles. It'd be like my birthday candles. And the saints are always a fun time when you are enjoying culinary mushrooms. And so I went to open my big cabinet and pull out all my saints candles in there, because I have this big TV cabinet, and when I'm watching movies and stuff, it's really cozy to light all the candles in there. And so I went to get them out. And bear in mind, we've been drinking through the night. It was my birthday. We've been partying. But I went to pull these candles out, and I started to pull them out. And they were in a bunch. And the one in the back, I was like, holy shit, is that flickering? What the fuck's happening? And I pulled out, it was the guardian angel candle, and it was lit inside the cabinet. And I was taken aback. I was like, I can't even remember the last time I actually lit them. You know, it'd been weeks maybe. So there's no way it was just like already left behind. And my friends were like, no, you just got distracted, and you probably started to light them and then got distracted and then like went back. I'm like, but it was the one in the back. Like, that would be really hard to just like light all these candles, light the one that was behind all the other ones, put it back, then get distracted and not have any recollection of it. I was also using a blue, like, long birthday candle to get into the cylinder to light them, because the wicks were so far down. And the guardian angel candle of all of them had like barely any wax. Like, it was like hardly any wick left, and it burned the whole night. And my friends were like, nah, don't read into this. Like, we think it was just you. We think you were absent-minded. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think we witnessed a miracle. So to me, I'm just going to remember it as having lived a miracle, because that's not uncommon for me, especially when shiitake mushrooms are involved. Something magical always happens. Last time I was in the forest and I found an enormous pocket of oyster mushrooms, which are expensive and, hard to find. And I didn't end up eating them. You guys, I harvested them. I took them around town looking for someone who could identify them professionally, and nobody wanted to make the call, so I didn't eat them. But I'm almost 100% sure that the mushrooms were like, come to us. here we are. Because it was just like, I went straight there and I was like, oh, here they are. Just pounds and pounds of oyster mushrooms. It was amazing. Okay, so new beginnings really starting. Miracles are in the air. Candles are lighting themselves. Okay, so what's crossing us now? What is crossing us now? If you're wondering what this deck is, this is my own custom deck that I have written. It's a straightforward oracle. I am slowly but surely getting this digitized so I can self-publish it, but I swear this will be your new go-to like clarification deck. That was the intention of the idea that was channeled through, but the cards are amazing, but they're always so straightforward. And so anytime you're doing a reading with oracles or tarot and you're like, well, this can have many meanings. These don't. I specifically made like 100 cards, so there wouldn't be like, well, this card can have like 4 different meanings. It's like, it is what it is kind of thing. Okay, so what's crossing us now is worth the risk. So if you have been considering something that seems risky, but something good for you though, that you're like, oh, I'll have to step out of my comfort zone, or I'm going to have to take a leap of faith here because I don't know, I'm not fully comfortable with the amount of resources that I have at this current moment. If you're like, for instance, sometimes it's a risk to like, say, go back to school or invest in something or, taking a risk, right? Starting a business. So whatever it is, even if you've already done it and you're like, oh my gosh, what if, like, for example, mine, I'm like, oh, I took this course and like, what if I just like blew this money and I'm going to fail myself and like, it's like, no, it was worth the risk. There's no reason to second guess. Like, just keep on keeping on, keep your faith strong, stay determined, stay hopeful. You know what? A really great little tool that is going to be easy and fun it's giving me so much hope and like lifting my spirit so much. But the show, The Chosen, it's on Netflix and Amazon. I told you guys about it yesterday, but it's about the disciples and like Jesus like finding his disciples and they're all coming together as Jesus is like launching off into his like big mission. And it's so great. It's like such a well-made show. It's not like a big budget, like, Game of Thrones HBO level, but I mean, it's good. And if you get through the first season, you're like, I want to watch the other seasons. I think there's a Chosen app now that you can watch just that show on, that you can like put on like your Roku box or whatever you use. And then you can also find it on Angel Studios app in your little like streaming device. And that has like a black and white logo. It's like black background, Angel Studios. There's another one that says Angel something, and that's not the one. It's the black and white one. But that is so good. It's like, there was a scene where it was like Jesus was teaching at someone's house and there was a crowd and these people wanted to bring their paraplegic or a paralyzed person for Jesus to heal. And they couldn't get in through the crowd. And it was like this woman that they had crossed on the road earlier had seen him heal a leper. And so she knew they were trying to keep Jesus' gifts on the down low. Because like they were like, I don't know what the consequences of this are going to be. I mean, obviously we do. It didn't go well with the Roman Empire. But they were kind of trying to keep it like low key for a minute. And this lady is like rolling up and she's like interrupting him. Like he just went to be a house guest at this like house. And like all these people started overhearing what was going on. And so they started gathering and listening at the window and stuff. And so then a crowd formed. The people came with their relative, their friend, and they wanted the healing for the paralysis. And so the disciples were like, we can't really get you through the crowd. It's too crowded. And so they were like, let's go on the roof. Let's come down through the roof. And so they went through the roof. And so after that scene, like it caused such a crowd to stir and such excitement that the Romans were like, oh, we don't like this. This is like causing a thing. You're blocking the road. The usual like cop thing. No offense if you're a police officer. But so this kind of like got him on the radar of the Roman Empire. Otherwise he was just like not even noticed and not really being talked about yet. And so Mary Magdalene later was like, hey, I'm really sorry about what happened earlier. And he was like, you're sorry for what? And she's like, well, for disrupting your teaching and cutting it short. He was like, well, who knows that it was cut short? Maybe that's exactly what it was supposed to be. He was like, I don't regret that someone now who never got to walk can walk. And she's like, yeah, I know. And he was like, but she's like, but I'm now I've put you under the eye of authority. And he said, you know what? Don't worry. Like, those people had such strong faith that they would have found a way. They would have found a way no matter what. Right. And so it's like worth the risk, right? Hold strong to even the mustard seeds of faith that you have, and that keeps you going, and that keeps you believing that things are changing and things can be different. But don't second guess yourself. Don't let that ego slip in and say, because think about the Israelites, right? Moses, we're going to go to the promised land. This is our promised land. We're going to have a new beginning, and it's worth the risk. And the Israelites were doubtful. They didn't know. They were afraid, right? It took a lot of faith. And so I just had something about the Israelites. They're going out of Egypt. They're leaving slavery. They're going for their new start. The promised land. Oh, yes. So this represents our promised land. And what that is it's your higher destiny that was laid out for you. This is the destiny, the timeline that exists where your higher self, that spirit self part of you that's perfected, has no ego attachment. It's wants to receive for the sake of sharing. It can delay instant gratification for long-term value. It can restrict the negative and evil inclination to be selfish or to be judgmental or critical or harm and whatnot. And so the more that we overcome and transmute that lower self, that step by step, click by click, gets us closer to claiming that higher destiny. And slowly but surely, day by day, our timeline starts to align and have affinity and look more like the one of our higher path, that higher destiny. So it's like when we're born, we're dealt this hand of fate. And that's our natal chart, right? When you get your astrological chart read to you, that is basically the hand that you were dealt. And if you don't work on yourself and you never do the inner work and you never do any healing, and you never try to transmute or transform, then more than likely that is the life that you will see play out. But it's when we do the healing, when we make an effort to overcome our lower nature, and we, sacrifice ourselves to be more like the light of the Creator, that's when we start looking and vibrating and having that affinity with more of the higher self, right? And so every day our life starts becoming more and more like that timeline. And the higher self is already there. The higher self is already living it. The higher self's already done the work and practice. So the higher self is trying to communicate to us. Look, I know where you are now. I was there, right? I was there this much time ago. So what you need to do now is this. Go to this place today. Why? That has nothing to do with things on my list. It may not, but you will run into someone there that you're not expecting to see. And they have a clue to give you. They have something helpful to share with you. They have someone to introduce you to, right? So whatever it is, it's worth the risk. And we're now being stretched beyond our comfort zone, and our faith is growing stronger, and we're learning how to follow the pillar of smoke by day and the pillar of fire by night. This is going to be a problem. So the next card represents our subconscious and how our subconscious is affecting us right now. Well, this is going to be a problem. I literally have had this nagging feeling like, oh, are my old patterns going to still keep playing out? Is this going to be another thing that just doesn't amount to anything? You know what I mean? Like, your subconscious is still there running on repeat, expecting things to always kind of be like they were, right? Am I going to be able to change? Am I going to be able to make the transformation? That's that ego coming in and taking away from your energy and taking away from that light and putting a bushel over it, putting a bushel basket over it. So instead, it's like that thing that like is trying to hold us back. Here, let me read the card. There's an issue that needs to be addressed. This is a bad choice, wrong direction, or not the right person. Or a habit needs changing. Something needs to be fixed. Wrong choice. Don't ignore this. It will come back to bite you in the ass. Now, I know exactly how I'm going to apply this. So this Scorpio full moon is like the culmination and the release of all that we've known up until now. And it's like we're letting go of the past. We're not continuing to expect anything to work out that didn't work before, right? None of the old, like, if you're like holding out for like some person that you've held a torch for this amount of time, like this is where we need to cut the cords, because we have a whole new possibility in front of us. And so we are tying ourselves down by staying attached to the past. And that, it just doesn't have resonance with us anymore. It's not at our vibrational level that we are currently at. It doesn't match our consciousness. We're not equally yoked with the past anymore. We've evolved and grown beyond it. So to hold on to the past, to hold on to those old habits, to hold on to that old way of thinking, to hold on to old grudges, right? Do you have issues with your parents? Like, we all do, but what if you just said, you know what? I'm so tired of having issues with my parents. What if none of it bothered me anymore? And I just showed up and I was grateful whenever they made any effort. And whenever I saw them, I knew that however they were expressing themselves, it was love in their own way. And, move forward, right? But how does it feel to think about continuing on with the same gripes? Why doesn't my dad get me? Why doesn't he ever remember my birthday? Like, why doesn't he care to spend time with me? It's like, oh, are you gonna beat that dead horse and drag it around forever? I know most of us do all the time. It's just like what we're familiar with, right? It's the old broken in pair of shoes that we're used to wearing. But now, if we continue to bring that into our current reality, it's going to be a problem, because it's not going to match what we're building now and what we're building from. So part of it is the rinse and repeat nature of what our subconscious has been used to, that it just keeps expecting. Part of it is now the subconscious is picking up on the fact that subtly, in subtle realms, things are shifting and changing, and this is not what the subconscious is used to. So it's clinging to something that it can hold on to. It's like ego. Oh my God, what is happening to us? And the ego is like, this is going to be a problem. We've got to do something about this. We need to be controlling. We've let everything fall apart because we weren't hypervigilant for every second. We didn't sleep with our eyes open, and this is what happens. Oh, candles just light themselves inside the cabinet. So yeah, part of it is that like there's a part of us that senses this new unfamiliarity, and we're like, this is going to be a problem, or we feel ill-equipped for it. We feel inadequate. We're like, we're going to be the problem. But really, the old way, the old self, the old shrinking the self, the old fears, that's the problem. That's keeping us held back, and it's keeping us in a place of stuckness. And it's stagnant, it's stagnating, right? And so that can only lead to death and decay and breaking down. So to stay attached to the past, I mean, and that's not to say that everything that you used to know is going to be gone, or that you have to like blow off everybody that you've ever been friends with. But you all know when a season has had its time, and that's particular season and the things that were attached with it aren't going forward with you anymore. And you know the things that are, right? Okay, so what is just behind us that is a lesson that is sort of clearing up, but the event of it is still having a small amount of effect on us? Recent past that's still having the effect. So keep the love tank full. So I feel like what this means was going on like looking at like a gas gauge where it's like full, empty, full, empty, full, empty. The emotional roller coaster of up, down, all around. Cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. And it's like us being affected all the time. Oh, cause, I'm affected, cause, I'm affected. Well, what if we weren't affected? What if there was all this stuff happening all the time? We were just like, same. We'll see how this goes. It is what it is. You know? So if we keep the love tank full, we're starting to learn how to do that and what we authentically and uniquely need for us to keep that love tank full. We're starting to understand how we can do that and the routines and practices that we can put in place in our own lives to maintain that consistency. And we're starting to get to know ourselves on a deeper level so that we know what our core needs are, right? I mean, we have to really get to know ourselves intimately to understand that, or else we'll just sort of assume that we're pretty much like everybody else. And we just kind of like take like a smattering of everyone's needs, right? Well, your needs might be very different than other people's. So we need to get to know those. And then I think that this is part of what we've been learning is how to keep this love tank full. And if we know how to do that, if we know how to keep our cup full, then we're close to having that reality of the cup runneth over, right? And so, you know, we have learned that it's our spiritual practice and it's our connection to source that really keeps that love tank full, because then we feel a deep sense of inner peace and fulfillment and purpose, right? When we look to the outer vessel to give us the fulfillment, it is a brief high and then we crash. Then we have like a hangover, we come down. Everything that we see is a vessel that contains the light. And it contains the light of the Creator. And the pleasure we get from eating a delicious piece of cake that I haven't eaten since Lent started back in, I don't know when. I'm not going to eat sweets until Sunday. And I'm trying to remember to abstain from unleavened breads, but I keep forgetting at work. So, I lost my train of thought. Lent, the fulfillment. Oh, yes. So when we eat the dessert looking for the fulfillment, it's like we're connecting with the light, but only briefly, and we don't see it as connecting with the light. We're obsessed. It's like it's all about the brownie and the ice cream with the brownie. The brownie needs to be heated, but it's like such a brief high. And then once it's over, it's like, oh, we have like stomach ache from eating too much sweets. We have instant regret because we know if we don't run 100 miles the next day, it's like immediately gonna equal like 50 pounds on our body overnight. And so it's like the high and low. Perfect example is with a relationship. A romantic relationship. You think that this person, this vessel, you're getting so much energy from their attention and their validation and their affection and their love. But that makes the relationship very fragile, because then what if that person leaves? What if they take away their attention? Then you get insecure. Oh, I need my fulfillment. But when you realize that it's the Creator that you're connecting with that you find fulfilling, right? Over this fast, I have been so rewarded with the purpose that this fast has served that my connection with the Creator is more deeply fulfilling and exciting and pleasurable than the candy that's waiting for me in my cabinet. I know, because I did this last year. And when I finally did get to break Lent, I was like, oh yay, chocolate, I can't wait to binge it. And it's like I didn't even want it that much anymore. It wasn't that satisfying. Because the fulfillment, the light, it's not the vessel. We're thinking that we're connecting with the vessel for our fulfillment, and that only leaves us wanting, and it only leaves us needing. But when we know that it's the light within every vessel that's bringing us the fulfillment, then we're like, oh, it doesn't matter what the vessel is. This vessel, that vessel, vessels can be switched out if the Creator wills it to be so, right? But I can't hold attachment to that vessel. I'm then, idolizing the vessel. It's the light within the vessel that's the most important part. So then it's like we stop putting things, jobs, titles, lovers. We stop putting those vessels on pedestals, and we realize that what we're connecting through them with is the light of the Creator and that expression of the Creator through that vessel. And so when we know that, it helps us keep that love tank full, because then we're not relying on someone else to keep us satiated, and we're not needy, and we're not fearful, and we're not fearful that we're going to lose anything, because the light is still there even if the vessel disappears. It's like, I'm still fulfilled, I'm still connected with the light, and nothing else matters. Okay, so what is crowning us now? What has the potential? This is a dead end. Okay, so we'll consider this. I'm going to keep pulling though, because that wasn't. Futile attempts, fruitless efforts, just passing through, a temporary experience. Nothing significant will come of this or grow from this. So any dead ends that are lingering or hovering over us right now, it's time to recognize those and cut our ties, because there's something else coming that is a lucrative partnership. So say you are in a bridge job. I'm in a bridge job. I left my career in TV, film, and video production because I knew that I was being called to pursue a career as a mystic. As a mystic, right? And we're like, okay, in modern times, that's not too weird, right? There are successful tarot readers and spiritual teachers out there who are artists and things. Khalil Gibran, for instance, he pulled it off in the 20s without the internet, right? So I left to become a mystic, but I knew that I was not going to be able to immediately support myself as a mystic, or at least that's not what my faith allowed. I did not have the vessel to believe enough and have the self-worth enough to be able to be immediately successful as a mystic, at least monetarily speaking. So I have a bridge job, right? It's a restaurant job. Now, when you consider like scalability, that is a dead end. Like, you can only go so far. Like, you're at the mercy of the numbers of people flowing through the building, and like the menu prices and how many tables you can get. And you can push yourself, to sell, more and to make higher tips. But to a certain degree, you're kind of capped. You have a glass ceiling there. Same if you wanted to be like a school teacher, right? And you wanted to teach at at a public school and in an elementary school. Well, to a certain degree, that you're going to reach a dead end there, because you can't go any further as far as your reach, right? But say you were a teacher who was able to create a video course to tutor kids that had special learning needs for certain things that you were really good at teaching, right? All of a sudden, you have taken that dead end, but you have discovered the lucrative partnership there. Even it's just you partnering with some kind of app or something that helps you deliver a thing that you can grow and scale. So my restaurant job is a bridge, but it has like limits there. But say the side hustle that I'm looking into, that could extend me beyond that, right? It has larger scalability. This channel, it has the potential to have limitless scalability, because it's like, whatever my reach is on Earth, I've got people all over the Earth, right? So it's like, I couldn't have done that if I was trying to do this on foot. Word of mouth, doing live little workshops, it wouldn't be any less important, but it would be there would be something that would be a dead end about that, where I couldn't scale, right? But then there's this internet, right? A lucrative partnership that works. So there could be aspects of things like that in your life. You may be in a relationship that has gone as far as it can, and it can't go any further. And there's no malice, there's no hard feelings, but you know that it's come to completion, and it's going to start getting bad if you continue to keep staying. And so you know that the season is over, right? That's kind of the feeling of this card. It's like, it's not necessarily that this is like you're in some terrible situation. It's just that we're in a transitioning point where the plot point is like, okay, character, you're in this part of your life right now. But at the opening of the movie, we're at the opening of the movie, and this is your big plot point. You've come to as far as you can in this capacity, in this vessel. And now it's time for next steps to go beyond your comfort zone, beyond what you're used to. And so like in my instance, I'm not necessarily, thinking like I have to leave my restaurant. Like I don't want to leave my restaurant, but it's like I know that I can only go so far there. And that now it's about putting the growth into the bigger purposeful thing that I'm trying to scale, right? While I still have my little like my safety, job, right? That cocoon job that's helping me. But you have to make that decision for you. Is your cocoon thing serving you in a way that you can still expand from there? Or is it not at all, right? For some people, it might not be something where you can have it both ways for a while and transition gradually. Like if you're in, like say this is a lucrative partnership, a new job, a promising partnership, combining elements to yield a great success. So say you're in a terrible, or not a terrible relationship, but say your relationship is now over and it's like it can't go any further. Well, if you're going to have a good partnership with someone else, like you can't keep staying in this and having it both ways. You have to start making plans to separate yourself and begin building your own independence again and begin healing from that so that you can meet someone who is an equally yoked partner. But yeah, something has come in or will be presenting soon that we may feel like, oh my gosh, is it worth the risk? It may ask us to, start giving less of our attention into one thing that might, look like a dead end or like a glass ceiling we've hit our glass ceiling, and start shifting our attention into this lucrative partnership or like an aspect of, like for instance, if I were going to like build a website and like sell video content, right? It might mean that I have come upon like a good platform to do that in, right? That might be an example. It may not be a literal person. It may be some aspect that you're adding to your already project that's going to take it to the next level. And it might need that, or else it might be stuck at the level that it's at a dead end. Okay, so what is coming up right around the corner? Cause consciousness. It's like, this is like the universe saying like, okay, you're finally understanding like how, like what you at least want to aim your little radio dial to. And so cause consciousness is having affinity with the light of the creator. The creator is the cause of all things. So we are the effect as the vessel. But in order to make ourselves and prepare the vessel to contain the light, we want to share affinity with the light. So we're in vibrational resonance. That helps us draw close to the light of the creator and connect. And when we're in that connection, we're in that miracle zone where like our blessings are just flowing. Things are, easeful. There's harmony and fulfillment and peace. So there are different aspects that we can work on to help us get there. And one of them is to be in a state of cause consciousness versus effect consciousness. Effect consciousness is constantly being affected by all of the appearances around you. Like, oh no, everything's, nothing's certain. There's an income crisis and a housing crisis and a bubble that's going to burst and the end times are upon us. And there's earthquakes in New York and floods in the desert and like what's going on? I'm so affected. But in cause consciousness, we see these things happening and we can feel compassion and feel a part of the humanity of it all. But we're not cowering. and we're not selling off all of our stocks and going to our bug out cabin and, all of a sudden doing drastic measures and digging a bunker underground. It's like we don't have to be so affected by everything. When we're having, like if I'm having a bad shift, I rarely have a bad shift anymore because I've been trying to practice cause consciousness. But if I let something that happens get to me, it's going to start having a domino effect. And I'm going to start getting sucked into a bad mood. And then I'm going to start making little mistakes. And then I'm going to have like a weird tight energy around my tables. Even if I'm faking it, they can still feel it. And then my tips are going to be worse. And then like the guest is going to be like, you know what, I don't like this, send it back. I don't like this glass of wine. Oh, this was supposed to be this. And then you're like, oh my God, the whole thing falls apart. Affected. But most of my shifts aren't bad because there's these moments that happen where I'm just like, oh, I could let this take me down. But I'm like, whatever. It's all going to be fine. It'll all work itself out. Sometimes it's difficult, especially when it's in a situation that keeps going on and on and on and it's lasting for more than weeks and you're getting tired and you're losing focus and you're losing endurance. But it's those times that really strengthen that level of consciousness because it gives you so much time, so much practice, right? So much strengthening and conditioning. So practicing cause consciousness. So practicing restriction, self-control, pause, proactive, free will, affinity with the light, unwavering, unchanging, eternal. Resist the urge to reflexively respond. Not the victim of circumstance. Certainty, seeing through the illusion. Now, when we're affected and we do a reactive action, that usually has chaos attached to it because we were in a state of chaos when we took that action. That was our seed level of consciousness. But if we choose with free will from a place of calm, clarity, and we're certain in the light of the Creator, we may not know what's going to happen. We may not have any guarantees, but we know that the Creator is going to take care of us and that we'll ultimately be okay and things will find their way to a resolution. Then it's like we become the more powerful energy in the room. And that gives us that divine human essence that can be co-creators and shift like the energy in the room and actually start shifting reality and co-creating it. So when we're in cause consciousness, that has a much stronger, consistent, and stable vibration. Think about a radio station. That signal is strong, but like affect consciousness, the waves, the radio waves, the vibration, like going all over the place, like erratic, that can't connect with anything. There's no frequency that can tune into that because it hasn't been dialed in. And so we are finally getting dialed into cause consciousness and we're letting less things affect us so much and so often and for less time. We're becoming stronger and more resilient and we're finding it easier to bounce back and to recognize when we've fallen out of that consciousness. Okay, so this next card is going to represent our perspective that's affecting us now. The destiny you choose. So now that we've chosen to adopt cause consciousness, we are understanding that we are not resigned to our fate, but we are going after the destiny that we choose. And so just like everything that we've been talking about, we know that if we do the work to elevate our negativity, to break through our fears, to heal our insecurities, to bust through indecisiveness and timidity, and fear and lack and doubt, that actually shifts us to our higher destiny, right? And it's only in a state of cause consciousness that we can actually exercise free will. Because then we are in a state of sovereignty. Otherwise, we're just in an effect of the environment around us, and we're being reactive, and we're not using our free will. We're using our animal instincts as a reflexive response that we didn't actually think about and consciously choose. So now, our perspective has gotten a huge shift. And now we're like, okay, I want to actually choose my destiny. I'm not like getting ripped around by the hands of fate any longer. I am a conscious co-creator, and I share affinity with the light of the creator, and I am a son or daughter of the utmost high. And so I am going to embrace my animal humanness and those needs. And I'm also going to embrace my higher divine self, and knowing that it's having both at the same time that makes me ultimately more powerful than the angels, not the other way around. It's not our lack of our human animal self. It's the presence of it that puts us above the angels. The angels don't have that animalistic ego drive. They don't have a personal agenda. They are one track, one mind. They don't have free will. They're only one way. And so that is because they have a job to serve us. It is the fact that we could choose poorly and we rise above that temptation to choose better that elevates us and makes us ruling and reigning over our kingdom, right? So the destiny you choose, your free will is your most sacred divine gift and power. Choose with intention. Be the cause, not the effect. Take ownership of your life. Set your course. You do have a choice, and that choice is up to you. Amazing. Okay, the next card represents the outer influence on us right now. Let go of control. So, our outer influence right now, we may feel like it has control over us. We may feel like we have little control over anything in our situation. And we usually don't, right? Really what we have control over is our perception of what's happening at any given time. That's kind of all we can control. And our actions based on that perception. We can cultivate our feelings, we can cultivate our thoughts, but we don't really have control over life and other people. You know, we can do our best at the work that we put our own hands to and try to make goodness and not leave sloppy messes everywhere. But we're ultimately, we have to accept that we have to surrender control to the creator, right? And that effect on us, feeling out of control, only triggers our want and need to control. And it causes us to be in a loop of buying into the illusion. Oh, the Satan's here. He's fucking with me with fear. I feel out of control. I'm going to try to control everything. It's like, well, you've just fallen into his trap. Because the most powerful that we are is when we show up and do our best, but we're ultimately in surrender to the creator. Because ultimately the creator is trying to steer us onto our higher path and onto our higher destiny. And maybe, you know, it's like Jesus said to Mary. She was like, I'm sorry I cut your teaching short. And he said, who says it was cut short? You know, it's kind of that kind of thing. It's like, maybe evidently the Father wanted us to stop right there. You know, and he says that a few other times in the series. It's like, he's like, I guess the Father wanted me to do this. I guess the Father wanted me to be here today, right? And that kind of belief and that attitude, it gives us a state of peace. And it gives us, I don't know, the ability to relax, that it's not all up to us. Like, we can't carry this burden of life on our own. We try. It's what ages us like 5 years a month, right? So we have to let go of control. Control what we can, do the best, which is us, do the best we can to give our best effort and our best awareness and attention to the things that we are doing to set ourselves up the best we can. But ultimately, it's kind of out of our hands after a while. So don't let your desire for control or your fear of a lack of it affect you right now. Acceptance, surrender. To pass the test, you must let go of control. The universe is stretching your trust muscles. Trust all is well. Let go. Control is only an illusion. Be free. Exodus. Movement of the people. Okay. So in our position of hopes and fears, These two cards fell out together. This is tied to guilt and addiction. So is there something that you are addicted to, or a habit that you have that may be tied to unrealized feelings of guilt about something? Remorse has affinity with the light of the Creator. Remorse is being regretful about a mistake and then making a change. Like after we repent for it in our hearts, like we change and we make a change. But to feel guilt and shame is to separate ourselves from the light of the Creator. And so because if we get, like Adam and Eve, for instance, what caused them to fall from the garden was not their act of sin, but it was the fact that they felt ashamed. And then they put on clothing, they put on flesh. They were in the dream world, in like the astral realm before the fall. It was like that perfect realm, sort of like Barbie world, where like you don't even have to eat, you just absorb all the energy. Everything's perfect and in unison and in harmony. And there's no expiration date because there's no flesh, right? It's just like energy. Well, they were in perfect union with the Creator at that point. They were completely innocent and undefiled. But then when they felt that they had done a wrong action, the snake made them feel guilty and shame, and they hid, and they felt exposed. And so when it says they put on, why are you wearing clothes? It's their flesh. They were separated from the light and then fell to this physical reality. And so the whole point of this physical reality is to be here and to be flawed and to learn and evolve from our flaws and grow through them and transmute them. But it was the guilt and the shame, because God doesn't have guilt and shame, and He doesn't project that either. He doesn't project guilt and shame. He just projects unconditional love and holds space for atonement and remorse. But not guilt, not shame, not you are bad, not you are by nature bad. That is not of God. And so that's why they were separate. And so that is the original sin that has caused a hole in mankind to want to chase after the light. But instead of chasing after the light, we're chasing after the light within vessels. And so this can cause sex addiction, love addiction, addiction to gambling, sports, addictions to food, like whatever it is that we're trying to like satiate and get that connection with that light, with the light of the Creator. It's become, because we feel separated from the Creator because of the guilt. We're trying to reconnect with the Creator because the light, right? That feeling of fulfillment, that's the presence of the light. But we're reaching for it in all the wrong places, and it's costing us. And it's costing us maybe money, maybe health, maybe time, maybe energy, maybe costing us our beautiful years. Who knows? But there's something that is a habit or an addiction that is fueled by our feeling like an unknown feeling of guilt for something. It's a disembodied guilt. And this is something archetypal that mankind as souls on earth are transmuting together. So each individual person might have a different experience or a different way that guilt presents for different reasons, but we all struggle with it. And there's also this disembodied guilt that we have to overcome that comes with our ego. So this is the thing that leads us to want to reach for something to satiate or to numb that guilt and feel connection with the light again. It's just that we're looking for it in very temporary sources, and they leave us high and dry and lower and with less than what we started. So our fears and our hopes and our fears. And so to me, this in this position is saying, and this is tied into our Monday anchor message about like cleaning up some of the habits of the inner child, the eternal child, that are causing, like, that need a little bit more discipline. Relate that to that. Go watch Monday's video. So in order to really get over the hump, getting closer to our dreams and our goals and our life purpose and our higher destiny, it may require us to let go of guilt, but also to break the addiction. And it's much easier to break the addiction to something when you have that realization that it's the connection to the creator that you're craving. And the substance is great. The cookies are great. But when you're satiated on the creator juice, you don't want the other things as much anymore. So, and then, too, it's always our most precious sacrifice that releases the most power and the most energy and the most magic and potential. So whatever you're addicted to, it's like making that sacrifice and breaking that addiction is going to release so much creative power for you that you can then transfer and transmute into what you are building and creating. Okay, then final outcome is prosperity and abundance. Yay, probable outcome. You have plenty. Do something small to affirm your abundance to yourself. You have sneaky lack hiding in the shadows of your perceptions. Nip it in the bud before it causes problems. So again, we're balancing spending and savings. We're not being too frugal and we're not being too opulent, but there's some kind of scarcity fear going on right now that's tightening things up and that's squeezing off the flow of harmony, of abundance. And so do something small to make yourself feel abundant and prosperous. Good things are coming and we are headed towards more abundance and more prosperity. But like I said, nothing is set in stone, so it's going to take us getting there. But in the meantime, Spirit does not want us to live in fear and to live in a constant state of survival mode and scarcity. So whatever little small thing you can do for yourself that gives you a sense of abundance. Sometimes for me, it's just getting some good Dr. Teal's herbal remedy, herbal therapy, bubble baths and bath salts and stuff, and just taking a nice bath and making a nice meal for myself, and maybe buying a candle. A candle, a really good smelling candle, is such a great way to warm up your room and your space, and it makes you feel abundant and prosperous, and it makes you have it puts that Venus beauty in the air without breaking the bank. Because I know I've been there. I've been in situations where it's unreasonable to tell me to spend money on something that is lavish, right? Because you're I literally don't have any room in my budget for this. I have to pay my bills. But a candle is something that can be small, and you can find good deals on candles at Dollar General and in the grocery store, Walmart, and you can usually find a good one for $10 or under that smells good. And it does a lot, goes a long way. But there are other things you can do, but that's up to you. Okay, maybe it's just one little bottle of nail polish that you really wanted, just something small to let yourself know that you're not in dire straits. Okay, let's grab a few tarot cards to tie this together. This is going to be a long one tonight. It's so funny. Whenever I'm exhausted and I have no gas left in me, it's those are always the longest videos. So our first card out is, our first card out was Queen of Swords. So she's what the fuck? Whoa. So the Queen of Swords is eureka. I can see it so clearly now. The Queen of Swords does not suffer any fools. She sees right through any situation. She notices every detail. You can't get anything past her. She's super witty. She knows what to do. She knows how to speak her mind and speak her message and be compelling about it. So this is someone who's great in communication, great storyteller. She can be very direct, very blunt, but and it can almost feel like the Queen of Swords could be a little bit cool or standoffish, but it's once she gets to know you and she knows that you're a good one, one of the real ones, you're on her good side, and then she will protect you and support you under her wing. But if you're not, then she doesn't suffer any fools, and she's off with their heads. So this is no nonsense, clarity. I know what needs to be done, and I'm going to execute this, and I know how I need to communicate this, and I know how I need to express. So this is good. This is like, finally, I know, I see, I know how it's all coming together. I've got perfect clarity. I know what to do. I'm going to execute this vision. I'm going to communicate this out into the world. And because of that, we've got 10 of Pentacles. This is the legacy card. This is the legacy that we are leaving. So this is like, we're beginning this new cycle. We're beginning to build things that are going to lead to long-term fulfillment and long-lasting value. And it might actually be something that leads to a legacy that we pass on to others, right? This is, this card is showing like a family who's well established, and they have a very secure household, and they have, you know, their money in place. They have close relationships in their family. They have the support and that tribal essence around them. And so they have that long-term fulfillment, and they have multiple generations supporting one another. So this card, you know, in some ways it does talk about, you know, honoring family and family traditions and things that you inherit from your family. But in other ways, it's a signal that what you're building is going to go the distance, and it's going to bring real value in your life, and possibly like money, like in a long-term way, in a sustainable way. And if you're smart, you can use whatever resources that are coming, and you can build a future that keeps growing itself, right? You know how to, it's like you can invest whatever resources that you are coming into now in ways that continually grow and perpetuate more and more growth, right? So maybe it might not be a bad idea to learn about how to invest in ways that like you get the most out of compound interest. Or, you know, learn how to build financial freedom. You know, there's one route of it is just to dump enough money into monthly dividend paying stocks that pay your expenses. You know, that you can do the math and figure out for how long it's going to take to get you past that like monthly, this is what it takes for me to live every month. You know, it's like financial independence is not that far-fetched. You don't have to be a billionaire to do it. You don't have to be a millionaire to do it. You just have to have the seed of money that creates more money that covers your expenses, right? I love it. The Death card showed up. So this is, this actually showed up on Passover, Death card. It's now showing up on the Scorpio Full Moon, which is death and rebirth and resurrection. This is huge transformation and change happening. So what I'm seeing here is like the Queen coming into a spiritual awakening, a conscious awakening, clarity, eureka moment, revelation, doing what needs to be done and seeing what needs to be done in order to create this kind of future and this kind of stability and fulfillment and value. And then the change that is happening, that is starting to transform our current life into the one that we've been working towards building. And the transformation is happening first within our consciousness and within ourselves. And then now it's like it's starting to show, starting to bear fruit in our outer world as well. Okay, one last tarot. Ooh, Four of Pentacles. So finding stability and security, but without having, like, without being too uptight or too controlling, right? Like, let go of control issues. Like, if you're like a miser, like holding on to every dime because you're too afraid to invest it in yourself, like, you need to get past that because you're holding yourself back. If you are, you know, holding something over your heart because you don't want to open up to life or up to the world, and your heart is covered and you're completely focused on material things, it's going to keep you stuck too, right? So there's like equal shadow and light aspects of this card. On the one hand, it's about building security and stability and balance and laying a solid foundation to build upon. But when taken to extremes, it can be stiff and stuck and stubborn and closed off and controlling and miserly, and selfish and like defensive, right? So, but I believe that this is literally saying that we are transforming that old tendency to feel like we have to hold on to everything in fear, to be stuck, to play small, to keep ourselves, you know, safe. But it's keeping us in one spot. It's like we're finally seeing, no, I see what's possible. I see all of these things that are possible for me. And now I'm finally seeing what needs to change in order to start establishing that kind of security for myself on the inside and on the outside. All right, let's get a Moonology card. I've never been more tired. Actually, that's not true. The day of after my birthday, Saturday, going into work, I was out of body. I was like the Walking Dead. I was just a ghost. Okay. What do we need to know for the next couple of weeks during this waning cycle? What do we need to focus on? How do we need to put our attention? Meditate and contemplate. New moon in Pisces. So really think about what you are letting go of, what is dying, what is now being buried in the past, and no longer has a place in your present self and in the future that you're building, right? It's time to let that go and reflect and contemplate and meditate on the new life that is beginning to come into focus, and meditating on the parts of yourself that are healing and that you're improving and that you're elevating, and meditating and praying to connect with divine guidance, you know, from Holy Spirit, from Source. Just establishing that daily connection. Pisces is the most spiritual of all of the astrological signs. And so it's like saying, like, we need to establish that spiritual discipline, that daily connection to Source in order to maintain our affairs and to establish security and to be able to maintain the perspective and consciousness required to create this life that we dream for ourselves and to maintain it. You know, it's not just about building the vessel to attract the light, and it's about maintaining it, right? If you build the vessel to get a relationship, say you work on yourself and you've met someone and you have a relationship. So now you have you've got the manifestation, and you've received the fulfillment of the manifestation, but can you maintain that? And that requires a continuous effort. You know, you have to make an effort to be a great, fun partner, to be a supportive partner. You've got to take care of your appearance, right? And your health and your finances. And you have to maintain your own individual interests so that you are interesting, right? It takes an effort. But it's like sustaining that vessel once you've built it is the key. It's not just about building it to get there and get the fulfillment. You have to sustain the fulfillment and maintain it. If you start a business, right? Or, you know, finally get that dream come true, now you have to show up and do it and perform. All right, so we have the Dreamer, oh my gosh, which is the Fool, which is that new beginning card, bookended. I love it, beginning and end of the reading. A new start, trust yourself, push your fears aside, and take a leap of faith. I love how we've been trying to like say that for like an hour and 23 minutes, and all it takes is like this card to just say, like, why can't I communicate so easily and clearly? A new start, trust yourself, push aside your fears, and take a leap of faith. Into video. Two of Cups, falling in love or the resurgence of a romantic relationship, forgiveness and the end of challenges, exchanging gifts. Don't give up on people that you love. So I love this. It's like a new level of fulfillment is coming in, possibly new friendships, possibly new romantic possibilities. You know, maybe the existing friendships that you have, you've now developed like a greater sense of appreciation, or like maybe even they have had like a little boost. but good things are happening. Like the beginning of emotional fulfillment where life is starting to show you what you've been putting into life, right? It's returning that love back to you that you've been putting out. And that, you know, you can start reciprocating that. Like now you might have something to direct your love to, right? So it's like an exchange of that energy. I mean, think about like taking on a passion project and it's giving to you and you're giving to it. It's giving you a sense of fulfillment and purpose, but you're pouring your soul into it. And it's like this exchange, right? It's not like you're not just drinking from your cup, you're offering your cup and you're drinking from another. Okay, amazing. Now I'm so tired. Oh, we're almost done, round in the corner. Okay, let's get 4 cards from our mermaids and dolphins, checking in about how we should be directing our focus as it pertains to our manifestations over the next couple of weeks during this waning cycle. Playtime. The dolphins know the importance of playing as joy creates miracles and manifestation. That is so true. Like there have been a lot of messages coming through from different little places recently just about raising your vibration through joy and things that you surround yourself with that bring you joy and taking time to make joy. It's it's a magical energy and it puts you in your highest state of your truest self when you're in joy. And so then your frequency is true. And so you're emitting this frequency out into the universe that's like your higher self. And so it's a very clear signal. It's easier for the universe to say, okay, oh, joy. Okay, I can connect with that. I can pick up on all kinds of things that are bringing this character joy. And I'm going to start sending them that. And so joy kind of gets the ball rolling. It takes the pressure off of everything and it gets, it lightens everything up and it gets the energy moving. So being in a state of joy is very powerful for your manifestations. From an esoteric and metaphysical point of view, but even just from a creative point of view, I know that I get so many more ideas and I'm so much more motivated if I'm nourished by having fun, regular fun, and feeling like my life is full of joy and not just, toil. Can you believe that? Healing the heart. You know what, this card rarely comes up for us, but when it does, I'm always like, oh, wow, I love the art. You're a powerful healer. Keep up the great work. So we're healing, and through our healing, we also help others to find healing as well. So this is amazing. Probably finding a lot of healing within playtime as well. So don't feel bad, think about people who go to convalesce in a glamorous kind of way. Like have fun, play, don't feel guilty about taking time to bring joy into your life because it's healing. And it's healing you and it's healing others as well. Make a decision. Wrestling with indecision is like my life's curse. I have a Libra rising, and so I will overthink everything. Feeling stuck or indecisive, listen to your intuition and make a decision. Like earlier, the cliff jumping example. It's like you can't be indecisive when you're gonna do cliff jumping. You have to run and take that leap, and you can't hesitate at the last minute. You have to commit to that choice and run and take both feet and jump. And so that is what we need to be doing with our manifestation. If we have a feeling that we need to make a move or go in a direction, don't suffer over it. Just do it. Just do it. See the results and pivot if you need to. Pivot. Okay. And then one last mermaids and dolphins card for our manifestations. Break free. Try different ventures and experiences as a way to grow and learn. So yeah, getting outside of our comfort zone, getting outside of the norm, break free from your routine. Do something a little different. If you are, building something and starting something new, a business, or maybe you have an invention, don't be afraid to try different approaches or different prototypes, or like say you finally found a distributor and it was such a long and arduous task and so dry and mundane to find like a good distributor for your goods, and you're just so relieved to finally find one. Maybe this one isn't very good, and so maybe you should, you know, look into a variety of choices, and try a few different things to find which thing works best. Because it you know, if you try the first one or two things and you're like, oh, this works, and then you just settle there, you may be like selling yourself short. So try different ventures and experiences as a way to grow and learn. And then two, I mean, yeah, just as a way to grow and learn, trying different things and experimenting and trying things different ways. It teaches you, for one, it teaches you all the things that don't work and why. I was laughing the other day with my coworker because he's relatively new, and he was asking about something. I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but he was asking about how to do a thing, or he was asking like where the silverware goes on the shelf of this cabinet, and I was like telling him like this really specific place to put it and how, and like you should like lean it off of the edge because it won't fall off completely, but it gives us more room for waters. And we started laughing because we're like, every restaurant is like this, every building is like this, everywhere you work is like this. It's like when you first start, people are giving you these like really long explanations of how you have to put something somewhere or how it has to work, or it's always just fashioned just so. And it's so frustrating because when you're telling the new person, they're like, yeah, whatever. And you're like, no, you'll learn, you'll understand why this has to be this way, because it's going to blow up in your face when you try to do it any other way. We've already established that this is the only way we can survive. It's kind of like that. Okay. Let's connect with our romance oracle angels and see what kind of couple of weeks we're going to be having with our love lives. What do we need to do or focus on during this waning phase for our love lives? Unrequited love. So again, back to the note earlier about leaving the past behind and not trying to hope that this new change is going to shift someone's perspective and suddenly they're going to be the person for you when they never have been. If you're not with the person now, like you haven't met them yet, or like that you haven't missed the thing with the, like, don't force someone into that or keep holding out. Like, unrequited love is unrequited love. And it's not something that you want someone to like warm up to you. So just don't waste any more time in limerence over someone who's not returning the sentiment. Like when we have crushes on people and they're unrequited, I mean, we waste so much time like crushing on them, and it's like they don't return the feeling, and you're not gonna like talk them into it. You don't want to like sell someone on you. So it's like, instead it's just like, oh, okay, you should just take that as your cue to, you know, close the book on that and move forward. In this life, it's like, it's hard enough to have a healthy relationship when two people really want to be together and they're doing the work. There's still so many challenges about life and being human that make it even hard for a great couple, right? So you don't want to be trying to like force a peg into like the wrong shape of hole that doesn't fit. It doesn't want to be there, right? It's never going to be good. It's never going to work out. So you have the self-worth and the consciousness now to move forward from the past. The things that didn't want to make life with you aren't meant to be on this next leg of the journey with you. So free yourself from all of the strings that your heart is sort of attached to. Snuff out those what is it called? Carrying the torch for someone, right? Snuff out your torches. Turn off your back burners, right? This is no longer a thing. We're completely unencumbered now, moving forward, ready to receive what is truly meant for us, and not entertaining anything anymore that's not reciprocal. All right. And the faster we can accept it without trying to overanalyze every little thing. You know, it's like the less heartbreaking it is. We're not emotionally attached to it because we're not putting all of our time and attention into why did it go off sideways? It's like it could be any reason. You know, do the work on yourself to know, you know, why you have been, where your shortcomings have been in relationship, and then learn better relationship skills and better, you know, skills about how to love and be loved, how to communicate and all that. But do it for you, not to try to, you know, squeeze someone into the peg, right? Or to change yourself, you know, to be the right peg for someone else, right? It is safe for you to love. Open your heart to give and receive the highest energy of all. So again, it's like, if we continue to ruminate over unrequited love, we never feel safe to love, because we're always worried that we're about to get hurt or rejected because of what we know, what we're recognized as unrequited love. So in a way, it's like our ego is trying to keep us safe, but it's also putting us in the most harm, right? An unrequited crush is like, oh, it's enough to feel our heart is attached to something, but we're not close enough to it to get our heart trampled or to open up completely, you know? So continuing to attach to unrequited love ruins our self-worth. It ruins our trust. It ruins our excitement and our hope and our lust for life and love, because it makes us feel jaded. Like it's never going to work out. Like it's going to be like this again, isn't it? So instead of holding on to the unrequited love and being reminded all the time about why we weren't the right person for that person, or why we aren't the right person for that person, instead, it's like it's never going to be safe to love the unrequited people. It's not a match, right? But there is a match for us, and that match could be very close by, and that's why we're being told, okay, forget so-and-so, it's unrequited. Forget about it. Leave it in the past. But you have something that has potential to be a great partnership lying just ahead, just around the corner, and we just don't know yet. So start getting into the mindset that it's safe to open up, that it's safe to love, that, you know what, like, sometimes I'm not going to be for everyone. Unrequited love is nothing to be fearful of, right? It's just feedback. So it's like, okay, unrequited, moving on, totally over it now. But it's safe for me to love because I know that I can set boundaries and I can protect myself. And I know how to slowly get to know people and let them in gradually as they earn it, and trust them and let them into my world gradually as they earn it. And if they're not right for me, then I know that I have the strength to create distance, or to change the context of that person in my life, or to walk away and to separate and to move forward, you know, without that person in it. But either way, you know that you know what you need to do, and you know you have the ability to take that action because you love yourself. And that is the thing that's going to set you up for attracting someone who's going to truly love you, because you're in a vibration of true love. You know, even when you're not in the vicinity of the unrequited crush, right? Just because you love at someone doesn't mean that you're in a vibration of love. That's not the vibration of love. It's the vibration of limerence, and it's low vibrational. It's like a fixation. And so to cut ties with that, and then be just by yourself, but in love with yourself, then that's higher vibration, and that will attract more love than like forcing yourself to hang out or date with people that either you're not that into or they're not into you, and you're trying to hold on to it so that you feel like you have some kind of romance in your life, but you're really just selling yourself short. We all are when we do that. Okay, what is this? Separation. Excuse me. Time apart from your partner is on the horizon. So to me, this is like underscoring what we just said. It's like, cut ties on people who aren't going the distance with you. Keep your eye focused on the distance, the long-term fulfillment. Keep yourself open to the person who's going to build with you, that you'll have people around in a home and memories and things that you build and grow together with. If you stay in unrequited love, you will have nothing. Separate from this, be on your own. And if you are like in a relationships, and don't listen to me, like give your all to your relationship. But you may have like a moment where one of you's traveling or one of you's busy, or maybe you just need like a little bit of like you time so you can like, reconnect with things you're interested in and come back to your partner that much more interesting and excited about life because you just needed your own space, nurture your own interests and things like that. But for the main purpose of this reading, to me, this says separate yourself from everything that hasn't worked. Don't keep looking back. It's like Lot's wife. When Lot and his wife escaped Sodom and Gomorrah when it was being destroyed and it was being blown apart, the angels told them not to look back, but to keep going and don't turn around. And Lot's wife was from Sodom and Gomorrah. She looked back because she was like, look at, this is all my life. These are all my loved ones. Like, she was wanting to cling to that past. And because of that, she became instantly a pillar of salt. And so to me, I've always taken the lesson from that when we obsess over the past and we stay stuck to it, we cling to it, we want what was to be and to continue, that we freeze ourselves and we can't move forward in life, and we become stuck and we become bitter and salty and frozen because we're like, why haven't we progressed? And it's because you're holding on to the past and you can't move forward. You're stuck, anchored from the past, and you're in the present, but you're not being present in the present, so you have no power in the present. So separation from your partner's on the horizon, and it's like we haven't yet met, or we're not currently with the right person for this next level yet. So just be comfortable in separation from another physical person right now, just knowing that the right thing will come at the right time, and it could be very soon. But in the meantime, it won't be very soon if you're attached to other energies and other people, because they'll take up that space and the universe needs a void. Romantic feelings. Your feelings are real and worth exploring. I love the mixed signals that these cards have given us. It's like unrequited love. It is safe for you to love. Now we're separating. Now our feelings are valid. It's like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. No more hot, cold. If somebody is hot and cold, then you can just be like, all right, this probably isn't going to be it. We need like kind of a consistent slow build, like a slow tepid water that builds to lukewarm and then it gets hot, right? We don't want hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. So your feelings are real and worth exploring. So for now, cultivate your feelings of romance in your life, even if you don't have any one person to share those feelings with. You can sort of start ruminating in them on your own. And like we said earlier, romance yourself. Buy yourself a candle. Treat yourself to a nice meal. Like, treat yourself kindly, like you would hope that your lover would. And because your needs are valid and your feelings are valid. And so those are important too. Your romantic feelings are so valid that they actually create like this magical essence around you, and it makes it easier for you to manifest because you're in such a high state of like love and excitement and joy, and your heart's open, right? So romantic feelings, generally speaking, are good and positive. Just that we don't want to aim them or direct them on an unrequited target. If there is no target, then don't aim at an unrequited one just because there's a lack of another target. Instead, put that love on yourself, like create fun and romantic and like pleasurable experiences for yourself, and be in the joy of that. And that will send out that signal again that is authentic to you. And when you know what you like, what makes you happy, what makes you tick, then you like someone else will be able to learn what makes you tick. Because if you don't know what you like, you can't tell someone else how to be a good partner for you because you don't know what you need, right? So spend time romancing yourself, understanding what you like, what you love, what makes you happy, you know, what you need out of a relationship, so that that signal is that much stronger for the universe and something that matches can be brought in. All right, y'all, we are almost done. We have got, let's call in Mary, Jesus's mother, for a little motherly advice about what we need to bear in mind for the next couple of weeks. Oh my gosh, we have hope. I trust that God has a wonderful solution and brilliant plans in store for me. Devotion, we need to be devoted to that hope, to cultivating it and to taking action, inspired action, driven by our inner guidance, right? As I fully commit to my values, relationships, and God, I am clear about what to do next. Again, that is very much this energy. It's like, as we've cleaned up these habits and we commit to our values and we don't settle for less and we don't settle for what's not right, and we stick to our guns and we stay strong and we stay on track and we keep taking actions and cultivating thoughts and feelings that are in alignment with the path that Creator is creating with us, then that devotion will be supported by heavenly support as well, and all of the energy of the universe and the cosmos. And integrity, maintaining that integrity. I trust my ability to know what is true for me. So again, it's like, if you have an offer, an opportunity that seems like it should be good and you feel like, I should say yes to this, but it's like, it's just not quite for me. It's like, be in integrity. That's the most important thing. I remember a viewer recently had kind of posed a kind of complex comment / question, and it was about, they were like, I know that, like, they were like, I wanted to take on a spiritual business because that seemed like a good thing to do, but they didn't have any. And I'm making a lot, I have to fill in the gap. This was just the question. Like, I only know what was written in the question, so I don't want to like judge or like make assumptions, but just for the sake of this example, it was like, let's just assume that we're understanding this right. So this person was like, yeah, it just seemed like having a spiritual business would be great, and doing something like to do with spirituality. So they were like looking for an avenue in which to like channel that through, and they said that they had tried like a tarot channel and it didn't really work. So they weren't, it sounded to me like they weren't like an experienced tarot reader yet, and they maybe hadn't honed their intuitive gifts or psychic gifts if they had them, and they wanted to do like healing work, but they weren't quite certain about it. And so they were like, I don't want to charge, like I feel bad about charging, and there was just so much to unpack. But basically what I was trying to tell this person was that it's not wrong to charge for spiritual work. Like, they felt like really guilty about charging for spiritual work. I was like, it's not wrong to charge for spiritual work. I charge for my sessions. Like, I have to like cover the time that it takes me to do that work. And also, by charging for my sessions, it allows me to do more work for others, and it expands work. Like, you wouldn't expect like a psychiatrist to sit down with someone without charging. You'd be like, well, I don't know how you keep your lights on, right? But I was like, but what you're feeling is you're not in integrity because you haven't honed your skills yet. Like, you haven't perfected your gifts, or you haven't worked on them enough to justify, like, you're not even feeling like your readings are accurate, is what it sounded like, or like they weren't working, or it just, the whole thing wasn't working. So it's like, yeah, at that point you're just in your own integrity not to charge yet because you're not there. I'm not saying that person doesn't have any spiritual gifts or any talent. It takes development, right? It takes practice, and it takes a while, it takes time. But that makes sense though. Like, it's not that it's wrong to charge for a spiritual gift, but it's like, you need to be integrity about when that's right for you to do and when it isn't. It's like if you wanted to have a TED Talk, just for the sake of having a TED Talk, but like you don't have like something that you've been working on that you have to talk about. Like, I used to like love watching TED Talks, and I was like, I want to have a TED Talk one day. And it occurred to me, I was like, I can't just like want to have a TED Talk. Like I need to be like the people that have a TED Talk, they have a TED Talk because they already have something to say. Like they're already an expert. They've already been working on something and they're like, I need to share with people like what I'm doing. It's not like they started with nothing and they're like, well, I need something for my TED Talk. Kind of like that. So integrity. Checking in, it's like it can be nuanced, it can be subtle, it can take discernment, but whatever you're doing, just stay in integrity, because your devotion, your integrity, and your hope are the ingredients of really what is fueling the big major changes and the blessings that are coming in. Oh my gosh, we're at almost like at 2 hours. I can't believe this. Okay, and then one last card. This is last word from Jesus. Loving words from Jesus. Oh my gosh. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. When you go after something, it's like Spirit is here and available, but it's up to us to make that move, to pursue that relationship, to pursue that devotion. But when the student awakens as a seeker, the mystery stays veiled because we have to earn that enlightenment. It's through the earning that the enlightenment comes. Just like in martial arts, it takes the pain and the discipline of like breaking your body down and going through the motions. There's no shortcut, right? You have to seek it out. And it's the same. It's like when you go after wanting to know about Christ consciousness, it's like when you knock, the door will be open, but you have to knock first, right? And then when you search and when you seek with integrity in your heart and real sincerity and devotion, Spirit will answer you. But it may not be in the timing that you expect, and it may not be giving you the answer that you're looking for, so you may not realize that Spirit is answering you. But no matter what, you knock on the door of your heart and it will be opened. The moment you like open a self-help book or a spiritual book and you like read the table of contents, it's like something immediately starts happening. And like somebody shows up at your door or you run into someone that day and immediately the material starts presenting itself for you to workshop in real life. So knock and the door is opened. Have hope. What you've asked for has been in your heart for a reason, because if it's truly meant for you, it's already set aside for you and it's already a reality for you in some dimension somewhere with your higher self. So have hope and believe. Continue to go into quiet places and shut the door and speak out loud to the Creator in prayer, and then tune in to the heart to listen for the answers. And it takes quiet and it takes time and stillness, but they will come. All right, you guys, happy full moon in Scorpio. I will see y'all tomorrow for our midweek alchemy message. Ciao.